Welcome back to the Out of Bounds podcast. I am Charlie Calieri alongside
Gavin Williams.
And today we're joined by a special guest, our college basketball correspondent, as we like to call him, CJ Moore, back in the building, back in the podcast room with us. Welcome, CJ.
Thank you guys for having me today.
Well, thank you for being back, CJ. We appreciate it. If you do not listen to our former episode with CJ, he talked a little about his basketball journey. So go back and listen to that if you have not already. But for today, we'll be talking about the upcoming matchups. So March Madness is right around the corner, one of the best times of the year, sports year. And we'll be talking about the teams, some predictions that we have, and maybe, just maybe, our national championship prediction will be coming up towards the end of the episode. Stay tuned for that. So let's get into it right now with one of the best conferences, one of the biggest conferences. Now, I won't say one of the best this year, but one of the biggest conferences. Unless you guys have any general thoughts before we start.
No, yeah, I'm all good to go.
All right.
Good.
We're going to talk about the ACC, the Atlantic Coast Conference. Gav, this is one of your favorite conferences. One of your teams is within this conference. But overall, this conference has been pretty underwhelming this year, in my opinion. I guess you could say that, some teams have exceeded expectations, but I think overall, the bottom half of this conference is just awful. It's so bad.
That's really bad.
There's
yeah.
such a big disparity between, I think, 7 and 10.
Right after Louisville, you can cut
Yeah.
off the rest of the conference at
So,
this point.
It's kind of ridiculous, honestly. I think that has a lot. The ACC is the biggest, has the biggest effect on the realignment, I think, out of all the conferences, just because none of those teams that they brought in have really been that effective. It's just really been boosting the other teams like UNC, Duke, Louisville, Virginia this year, some of those schools. So some thoughts on the ACC. What do you guys think? And who do you think is going to win this conference?
I think immediately, you have the number one team in the country. I'm going to go with Duke's going to win the conference. I think after what they showed me against Michigan the other night, I think I can confidently say that they're going to take it over. What I'll say about the conference, though, I'm just looking at these standings right now, and I don't know. It's so, you mentioned underwhelming. When you have like these teams in here that, like Virginia, we haven't seen them be this good in the ACC in a couple of years now. And then we have like Clemson, who is like third last year. They bumped down. Then UNC, who just got that great win last night over Louisville. But I don't know. I think the difference is like the ACC used to kind of just be like UNC, Duke, and then maybe you sprinkle a third in there. But I think throughout what we're seeing now, we're seeing like random teams like Miami or NC State trying to climb in there now. And now we're just going to have a couple teams that hover around the top, which is going to separate a Duke from being a 1 seed and UNC for right now being a 5 seed.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just think that this conference has never been the same as it was 6 years ago.
Before COVID. Yeah, after COVID, ACC is definitely not the same as what it used to be.
So I got Duke, though. Definitely in this one.
Siege, what do you think, man?
I'm gonna have to go with Duke as well, but I feel like it's just good for college basketball that Virginia's coming back. They've had a few down years the last couple years, but they're getting hot right now. They just won 8 in a row, so I feel like I don't think they can beat Duke, but I feel like they'll be able to compete with them, whether they match up in the championship of the ACC tournament or somewhere along the way. And then another, not sleeper, but I'm also pretty high on UNC as well. I feel like they're a very good team. Starting to get hot right now, just 1-2 in a row, and with Caleb Wilson coming back against Duke, if they can get everything rolling the way Seth Trimble's been playing, had 30 last night.
Dude, yeah.
I feel like if they can all come together at the right time, they can also be able to compete against Duke again.
Great point. I really do like this UNC team. They've hit some bumps, just like some other UNC Hubert Davis teams in the last few years too. Has not been smooth sailing for that program, but still getting wins nonetheless. They're going to make the tournament. They're going to be probably a 3-4 seed, probably if I had to, maybe 5 seed.
Right around there, yeah.
If I had to predict, but I think this team, I wouldn't be shocked if they make a Final Four. I wouldn't be shocked,
agree.
definitely, if they make an Elite Eight. I don't expect them to be out in the first weekend like I do for some of these other teams, like an NC State maybe, or a team that I wanted to talk about a little bit, shifting away from UNC, is Miami. I really like this Miami team. I know they've been hot. They're kind of a trendy team the last few weeks, but I love their new coach. He's really turned around this program a great deal from what they were Last year they were really nothing. They were bottom of the barrel, right down there with Notre Dame, Pitt, Boston College, those kind of teams. And obviously Larinaga bringing them with Isaiah Wong to the Final Four, Jordan Miller, my guy on the Clippers, to the Final Four our freshman year about 3 years ago. But now turning this team around to new era, one of the quickest turnarounds in the NIL era that we've seen.
Yeah, definitely.
Good for Miami basketball. I like when they're good. And just another team that's added to this mix in the ACC. I really like this team, Miami. I think they could be one of these sleeper teams that make a run. But like you said, Siege, I think it'll come down to Duke and UNC, I think, in that ACC championship game, unless they meet in the semifinals. And then I think Virginia would be that other third team that'd be in there. So
just touching on your point, too, I feel like Miami has also gone kind of under the radar this year as well. Just watching the basketball and them not being ranked, I feel like them being 21-6 has just kind of been swept under the rug. Nobody's really paying attention to them. So like you said, they could go on a run with nobody even paying attention to them.
That's a great point, yeah.
Then Louisville. What do you guys think about Louisville? Obviously Acuff's there. Kelsey, the coach, they got a good program. I mean, he's really built up that program from when Pitino left. It was really in shambles. And he built them back up to what they are now. A perennial tournament team that's going to be in every year and going to be competitive. What do you guys think the ceiling is? Because I think this is one of the weirder teams. What do you guys think the ceiling is for this Louisville team? Can they be a team that goes to the Final Four? Or are they going to be out in the first weekend?
I think their ceiling is Sweet 16. They get past the first weekend, but they're not making it to the end of the second weekend, though.
Okay.
I think they're high. Because I think they're probably going to be matched up with somebody who's just like an unfortunate Sweet 16 matchup where, it's like, damn, that's just tough. So I think that their ceiling right now is Sweet 16 for Louisville.
I'm going to have to agree with that. I feel like they go as Michael Brown Jr. goes.
Yeah.
He had 40 points last week. So I feel like if you can stop them, you can stop the team. If you can stop him, you can stop the team. Against UNC last night, he shot 25 shots. So there's nobody
at the end.
There's nobody else really on the floor that is going to be able to produce for them the way he has. So I feel like if you can shut him down, you'll be able to shut the team down. And like Gavin was saying, I feel like Sweet 16 is probably the ceiling. If they can get some decent matchups, maybe Elite Eight, but I'm not really seeing that.
See, now that I'm really thinking about the seeding here, they're going to be a 4-5, probably, right? So, I mean, that would match up with them playing a 1 seed in Sweet 16. I don't like that matchup at all, so I agree with you guys. I think Sweet 16 is where they end up. I don't know who that 1 seed's going to be. That would be a great... I don't think Louisville could be one of those teams that knocks off one of those 1 seeds and gets to the Elite Eight. But,
maybe.
But maybe, right. I think it would take, obviously, a great game from Brown, great game from their whole team. But I think that is their ceiling. I agree with you guys, Sweet 16. So, any more points about the ACC here? Are we all good with them? Duke?
We got the Duke train going.
Yeah. Any talk about Syracuse? No?
Nah.
No talk about Syracuse?
They could stay under this year.
Is Kyan coming back?
I don't know, but Red Autry needs to be fired. That's all I know.
Okay. I think it's a very popular opinion around the college basketball world right now. Let's talk about the SEC. Let's get into that conference. And, we talk about the ACC being an underwhelming conference. I think this is maybe more of an underwhelming conference this year. You had some of these teams, maybe like an Alabama, where you expected them to be a top 10 team the whole year. Obviously, some things, some player movement, a lot of storylines around Bama this year with that whole situation, Bediako. But nonetheless, they've been kind of an underwhelming team, hovering around that 15 to 25 range the whole year. Florida now, being one of those teams, won 7 in a row. They're hot. They've jumped into the top 15 now in the latest AP poll. So, what do you guys think about the SEC as a whole? Obviously, Tennessee's still in there. Some great teams, A&M down there, but overall, do you guys think this has been an underwhelming year for the SEC? Or is that just me?
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like at the beginning of the year, we thought Auburn was going to be pretty good.
Yep.
Auburn has been worse than expected, along with Kentucky. Kentucky's been pretty bad as well. But at the end of the day, with conference tournaments coming up, any of these teams can get hot at any point. I feel like we saw Vanderbilt at the beginning of the year, too, under one of the last undefeated teams. They were a good team as well. All of these teams are very good. I don't feel like there's one that outlies above them all. Obviously, Florida is very good, but I don't feel like Florida is above everyone else.
You're right.
I love watching Alabama play. I love to watch how they play, the speed they play at, how many threes they shoot. So I feel like on any night they can get hot, they can beat anybody. But I feel like this conference is pretty much wide open, along with Arkansas too, with Acuff, with Malik Thomas, all those freshmen over there. They have a good coach behind them in Calieri. I just feel like this conference is up for grabs at this point.
I totally agree.
I mean, I think that probably the hardest thing about the SEC is what they're going to do is they're just going to beat each other up. That's how it is in like every single sport, especially football, basketball is like where it really counts. So when you look at overall record, I think you just have to just look strictly at like their conference record, because I mean at this point for the SEC it doesn't matter who you played outside of it. It just matters what's going on right now. I also thought Auburn was gonna be a little better. I know Bruce Pearl retired and his son took over, but I thought they had something good that was gonna happen for him this year, especially with some key returners from last year. Kentucky, Vandy. I felt like these two teams were also going to be top of the conference, maybe at the 3-4 slot. I still thought Florida would be up there and Bama, but I thought like right behind them would be like a Kentucky and Auburn and a Vanderbilt, rather than having Arkansas, which I thought they were going to have another down year like they did last year. Well, they still went to the tournament, did some good things last year, but specifically for Cal's team, felt a little down. But I would not be surprised here if we see I think Arkansas can go on a run. I think Arkansas can win this whole conference. So I'm going to pick them for my conference winners.
I agree. I don't really have a conference pick. I think I'll have them maybe by the end of this little spiel I have here. But I think there's probably 10 teams that can win this conference. I think every team but, if you're looking at the standings right here, I think every team from Texas up can win. And I think you include Auburn in that list too. They still have Pettiford. They still have some guys who've been in the tournament before. So I think winning 3 or 4 games in a row isn't out of the question for any of those 10 teams. For teams like Georgia, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Ole Miss, LSU, season's done. You're toast. But I think Kentucky is one of these really weird teams this year where it's like they started off so poorly. Pope was going to get fired at one point. Like it's going to be a rebuilding, few years for Kentucky. It seemed like they were heading, and then all of a sudden this flip switch for that team, and they've been balling. So I think that could be a team where they've been playing some good ball at the right time. I wouldn't be shocked if they go on and play definitely in the Final Four of the SEC tournament. I wouldn't be shocked at that, especially based on the matchups. And I like what you said. I like Vanderbilt a lot. I like how they play. They're another one of those teams that they get out there. They're a physical team. They're fast. They just do everything right. They have a few guys who can score the ball. That's a team in the tournament, not even the SEC tournament, that I think Vanderbilt could be a team that makes a run to the Elite Eight potentially. Okay. They played some of these top teams. They played them well, and they beat some of them too. So I think there's no question that a team like Vanderbilt could go on a run. Tennessee, I just want to talk about them really quick. They're kind of this weird team where, like, obviously every year they have these like huge expectations. Last year was a really disappointing end of the season for them. Amit now being their guy, going to be one of the top picks in the draft. A lot of expectations for this team, but still a little bit underwhelming for their standards. That could be another team that I think would be placed as like a lower seed, maybe a 4 or 5 in the tournament, but end up going on a run, knocking off one of those 1 seeds, maybe like in Arizona if they play them. I like maybe Tennessee in that game if they play in Arizona. So yeah, I like a lot of the teams in the SEC, but I think overall, if I had to pick a winner for that conference tournament, I'm just going to go with Florida. I'm going to go with the national champs and run it back with them. So I'm going to go with Florida in that conference tournament. Anything else about the SEC you guys got?
And then just you talking about Florida, I feel like Florida goes as their guards go too. They have one of the best front courts in the country with Alex Condon and Ruben Chenilu, but at the beginning of the season, many people were writing them off with Xavier Lee and I can't think of his name, Boogie Fland. They were playing really bad at the beginning of the year. Many people were writing them off, but they didn't let that get to them. They've been playing really well the last few weeks. So if they continue to play well, this team is very dangerous. I feel like matchup-wise, they have one of the most difficult teams to match up with just because of their size. So with 7 wins in a row right now, they could get hot, and like you said, they could take it away. No problem.
The SEC is one of those conferences, and I think you were kind of touching on it, where they're one of the best conferences that all starting 5 guys on a team contribute to that team. I feel like they're one of the only I think the Big 12's the best at it, but I think the SEC is probably second to that, where they don't rely on the stars as much. like maybe, which is funny because the Big 12 also does that too. But I just love the Big 12 their brand of basketball. But the SEC, they rely more on team ball. I think they don't rely on the stars. Obviously, you're going to get a few stars in there, as every conference and every program will. But I think for at least the last maybe 2-3 years, I think it's been a lot more about the team ball in the SEC. And I think that's a big reason why I think Florida is going to be a good team. You didn't even mention Thomas Haw. He's another guy on their team, first-round pick probably this year. That'll be another great factor for them, and national champs. I mean, that's just cherry on top for them. So I think they could have another run. Gavin, you got anything?
No, I'm all good.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's go into the Big 12 here. Another conference that, my favorite basketball conference this year. I love so many teams in this conference. And one of my favorite teams this year, and my favorite team, I was telling Gav before this episode, I love Houston. That is my team this year. They have about 6 guys on that team that can go out and score 20 a night if you really wanted them to. I'm including Mercy Miller in there. I am. I think he can hit some threes if you really need him to. But I love Kelvin Sampson. I love Kellen Sampson, the assistant coach as well, his son. I think they have a great family in that. And obviously I mentioned the dad and the son, but I think the team is a great family. I think they work well together. They play well together. Obviously, in a rough stretch of their season, they've lost 3 in a row. First time since January or February of 2017 that has happened. So pretty interesting there for that program overall. But Houston's a team that I absolutely love. And it's just one of the few teams I think in this conference that can go on and win a national championship, not only the Big 12 championship. So any thoughts about that, guys?
Yeah, I'll let you go first, Siege.
Yeah, obviously, my team is Kansas, but these top 4 teams, I feel like any one of these teams, Arizona, Kansas, Houston, Iowa State, any one of those teams could take away the Big 12 title. They all play so hard. They all, like you said, they all have great roster constructions. Obviously, each of them have a star player, I would say. Iowa State is playing really well. They lost to Arizona the other day. It was a great game, but it shows that any team can compete with any team in this conference. Kansas, big win last night at Houston. Houston lost 3 in a row, so they're going to be eager to get some wins. I'm sure practice is not going to be very fun today for them at all. So expect them to come out hungry whenever they play again. And then we got another big matchup in Kansas and Arizona on Saturday. I know I'm a Kansas fan. I just do not feel like this will go our way Saturday. We beat them in Allen Fieldhouse. Arizona's going to be hungry. I don't know if Koa Pete's going to be back in the lineup, but just the way things have been trending with Kansas. Darren Peterson obviously didn't play well last night, but they still got the win. So I'm taking Arizona Saturday in Arizona, but I feel like any one of those 4 teams could come out with the win in the conference.
I like that a lot.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say those top 4 teams, I think they can all win national championships,
I agree.
not just conference championships. I mean, and then I'm going to extend it down to Texas Tech and BYU. I still think that these 2 teams can still compete in the conference, but I'm going to bring it up for just March debate. I think Texas Tech, BYU could be Elite 8 teams in there too. If they just get on a little run towards ending the conference championships, maybe if they get it matched up well in the tournament. But specifically about the Big 12, I think that there's been ups and downs for some of these teams, especially in the top. I mean, you have like Arizona, who is one of the last undefeated teams remaining, and then so now they're dropped 2 recently. Then you have Kansas, who start off like a little slower than I thought they were going to, but they've really been ramping it up towards this build-up of the season. Houston also started off hot, but obviously we just brought up they lost their last 3, and I think Iowa State, they've just been chipping away all year. That's I think my mentality with Iowa State.
15-0 at home.
Yeah, and I'm gonna pick Iowa State to win the conference because of just their mentality of chipping away.
Wow. I like that. I feel like they're a very gritty team. They play hard every game. Obviously the best 3-point shooter in the country with Milan Macilovic. And then, like you said, they just play hard.
Yeah.
I feel like they play harder than any team in the conference, and that's how they win games. They gut out teams. They get steals. They dive on the floor for loose balls.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
I feel like that goes for a lot of these teams, too. Maybe some of them play a flashier style, but I think all of them have that brand of basketball where they'll get down and dirty if they really have to, but they'll play that flashy game if they really have to as well. That's why I really like this conference, the versatility of all these teams.
I was just about to add or to mention that I think that the Big 12, especially the past, I'm going to say 3 years, they've been the most fun conference to watch.
Oh, by far.
And
by
I
far.
mean, you said, and I think the Big 12 now is what the ACC used to be.
Yeah.
Back when we were like growing up.
I could totally see, like the Kansas and Arizona rivalry
Yeah.
has been great. Houston's been that great first or second, third team in whatever you want to include them in there. And then
Yeah.
obviously Texas Tech has been, national champion in the national championship,
The Final
Final
Four
Fours.
yeah.
They've been there. This year, going to be a little bit tougher to your point about Texas Tech, with JT Toppin going out.
Yeah, that really
but
that hurts him big time.
I agree with you. I still think with the rest of that roster, they could be in the Elite Eight. I really think based on their matchups, it'd be really tough.
Yeah.
But they have a great coach and a great team still in place, which is crazy to think, because if they had JT Toppin, we'd be talking about 5 teams now in the Big 12 that'd be competing for national championships. The reason why I personally do not like BYU, and I'll get on BYU right now, and I think they're going to be out in the first weekend. I don't think they're very deep at all. They only have about 7 or 8 guys who can score in general on the team, not even just guys who, if guys are hurt or whatever. And they're dealing with a lot of injuries right now too. That's another reason why I don't like them. Obviously, they have Bonaventure, they have Rob Wright, they have 2 of the best scorers in the conference, arguably 2 of the best scorers, top 5 scorers in the conference. But I still think the rest of the roster just isn't up to par with those 2. And I think that's where they're really lacking, and where it's really going to show in that second and that third round of the Big 12 tournament when they're going up against these big schools. You get later in the first half, that's when maybe a team goes on a run and puts you out of reach, and then you're climbing back the whole second half and you just can't do it. And I think that's the game that BYU's been playing a little bit too much this year. They played that type of game in a few of their, and I think in that Kansas game they played like that, where they got down pretty early and they were kind of trying to claw back and they couldn't. So I think that obviously when you have a guy like Bonaventure, you could go pretty far. But I think that BYU is one of those teams that's going to be really underwhelming and get upset pretty early in the tournament. They're one of those top teams that I think is going to be losing to that 11-12 seed. I think they're going to be that one team.
I can see that actually, especially if they get matched up with the correct 12 seed.
Yeah.
I can see it happening.
So obviously with the Big 12, we have some of the best NBA prospects: Kingston Flemings, Koa Pete,
Even AJ.
Darren Peterson in there. Yeah. Bonaventure, some of the best NBA prospects in this. So who do you guys think out of that group is the best one, first of all? And then CJ, maybe why is it Darren Peterson, and why is his relationship with Bill Self not where it should be right now, you think? And just that whole situation, I guess.
I definitely think it's Darren Peterson. AJ is not far behind him at all. Obviously AJ's longer, has a better body type than him, but I don't think he's as good of a scorer. And the reason why I think it's Darren Peterson is because I don't think he's shown us everything that he has yet. Obviously, he's missed 11 games this year. He played 30 minutes last night. He didn't play well last night. But I feel like it just shows that his ceiling is so high. And once you get him in the right structure, get his mind right, whoever's whispering in his ear these things, once he gets away from these people, he'll be able to flourish. And like people have been saying all week, all season, that he's not a killer. He doesn't have any mentality behind what he's doing.
He's a dog.
I feel like in the tournament, he's going to take that personal, and he's going to take this out on a lot of teams. I feel like any given night, he could go for 40 whenever he wants to. It's also just about him caring about the game. We see people all the time say that people don't care about the game. You really don't truly know how someone feels on the inside. So I feel like he's going to take a lot of these comments personal. He's going to want to perform on a big stage, and he's going to want to be able to show people why he's the number 1 draft pick.
I love that response. And I love that for the people who are doubters of Darren Peterson. I think that goes to show that he reminds me a lot of Anthony Edwards in the way when he was in college. Edwards did not get used right, and I was one of those people that was very skeptical. And I think if you go back and watch a lot of people's mock drafts or whatever, they're saying, yeah, this guy might be projected to be the first pick, but we don't really think he's the first pick. Those people were wrong. I think a lot of those people might be thinking the same, maybe to a lesser degree, but similar things about Darren Peterson. And I think that he'll prove all of them wrong when it comes to starting in Summer League and then when the season finally rolls around. But whatever team is lucky enough to get Darren Peterson will be lucky.
And I also think it's how crazy just how quickly the narrative changes. Like two weeks ago when he hit those shots against Texas Tech, he was the next Kobe. He was the next LeBron. He was the next big talent that was going to be in the NBA. And now 2 weeks later, he misses a couple games, asks himself to sub out of the game, and now he's soft. He doesn't play hard. He doesn't care about his team at all. So it's crazy how the tables turn, but we'll see how it turns out in March.
Yeah, and Gav, we've seen this type of player come into the NBA. What do you think a guy like him that's been scrutinized and gone on this roller coaster, how do you think that he can handle that going into the NBA? Being a top pick, too, is not the easiest thing.
Oh, yeah. Specifically, you just have to take what's ahead of you one day at a time. I think that's the biggest flaw in a lot of draft prospects is they look ahead too much instead of realizing that they should be living in the moment. So obviously, taking it one game at a time, finishing out the regular season strong, and then you worry about the conference championships before you're worrying about March, because you still have to make it to the conference championship first, and you still have to, play your best brand of ball in those conference championships. A lot of film's done in those, especially when you have these Arizonas versus Kansas, or have the top 4 matchups. They
just mean more, those games,
and they're all top 5 teams in the country.
Yep.
Top 6, and I think then you bring it on March, and then it's just round by round. How can I help my team get to the promised land? I mean, not necessarily just, how can I put up 30 tonight? I think in March, that's where it truly matters. We're actually sharing the ball, taking charges, getting offensive rebounds. That's where everything, even if you are a guard or a forward, I mean, doing anything you can to put your team in the best success possible.
Yeah.
I think that's what matters. Unfortunately, I think a lot of NBA scouts are still in love with the fact of guys who can just score 30 points a game. And I think that's what honestly hurts Peterson in a little bit. It's just because I think Peterson's probably going to play the game that he knows how to play and probably not have like 30 points per game in the tournament like some other guys might. But I think at the end of the day that, you see these team guys who play team ball, they always end up pretty well in the NBA too.
Yeah, I think it's an unfair criticism to Peterson as well, because the dude's just trying to get healthy, and is obviously asking yourself to sub out of a game isn't the best thing, but he's not doing it in March. He's not doing it in the tournament. He's not doing it in the conference tournament. He's doing it in a regular season game when he says, there's bigger games, there's bigger fish to fry in a few weeks, and I need to be ready for that. I don't need to be ready for Kansas State right now. I need to be ready for Duke in 4 weeks when we go play them in the Final Four. Like, those are the types of games that he's ready for, and I think that's something that maybe NBA teams are looking at and say, hey, I think that's a good.
I think NBA probably loves that. I mean, you see guys just sit because they got like knee soreness.
Yeah.
And this is popular in NBA when you want to reserve yourself when you have 82 games, and if they see somebody in college basketball who's like willing to make sure he's 100% for the next one,
people
especially
love that.
against a team that he doesn't need to play against necessarily.
Your best ability is availability. That's what they say.
And I think that's what NBA scouts might be like, oh, well, I don't know. I mean,
he's a team player. He's a team player. And I think that's maybe where, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's maybe where he has the upper hand on Devonta, because I'm not saying Devonta's a selfish player, but I think that Darren Peterson is just objectively a more unselfish player than Devonta, and I think that's just the mold of how that Kansas team is. I mean, obviously, we know that from our guy Melvin Council Jr. going there, and he's been balling. They bark every time he gets the ball. I think that's pretty cool.
They do.
But Melvin's been balling. CJ, a little bit, maybe some thoughts about that and how his role with that team.
I feel like he's just great for the team. They love him. The fans love him. He's a fan favorite.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like he's a guy who's going to blow up in March. Obviously, a lot of people know about him now, but once they see him in March, once they see him getting up 94 feet, getting steals, pounding his chest, they're going to love him. And I feel like the team goes as he goes. Like you said, Darren Peterson, he's their guy, but they don't win a lot of these games without Melvin, without him playing defense, without him hitting 9 threes against NC State uncharacteristically. He really loves the game. He loves being out there. He loves Kansas. And I think he's just a great all-around player for them.
I think we saw that last year at Bonaventure. I mean, the dude loved it here at Bonaventure, I thought. And I don't think anybody denied that. But, I mean, you get the chance to go play for Bill Self in Kansas at Allen Fieldhouse every day.
You got to take it, man.
You got to take that.
Yeah.
I think anybody would.
Mm-hmm.
Truly, I feel like he's just grateful for the game of basketball. Like, 3 years ago, like they said last night, 3 years ago playing JUCO in front of 100 people. Now he's playing on the biggest stage of his life.
It's incredible. It's a great story, and I love that. And I think it's a testament to. I think Woj can definitely use that as a building piece for this program here at St. Bonaventure. As this guy was playing in JUCO, NEC, Now goes to the 8-10. Now he's playing potentially, and I think Woj will probably be rooting for Kansas for the selling point of being like, this guy's playing in the Final Four. This guy's a national champion. Just a year ago, he's playing with us. I mean, that's huge. It's huge for him just in general because he could be a guy, and I think he's the type of build where I think some NBA teams really like him.
I agree. I feel like I don't think he'll get drafted.
No.
I feel like someone will pick him up though and give him
a
a couple
summer league
years.
darling. He'll be
give
one
him
of
a
those
couple
guys.
years,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
he'll be a role player on the team.
I mean, I think if you have speed, if you can handle the ball well, which he's gotten a lot better at this year, totally.
Yeah.
And if he can develop his shot and just the control of his game, and he reins it in a little bit, I think he could totally be an NBA player. Totally.
Yeah.
And I'm rooting for the guy. I really am. Because I can say I watched an NBA player live for a full year in front of me. That's pretty cool. So shout out to Melvin. In Kansas, this team is going to keep rolling. I really do like this team.
I do like Kansas going deep this year.
I think their floor is the Elite Eight. I don't think their ceiling's much higher personally, but I think they fall in that Elite Eight to Final Four range.
I think that's a good floor.
I like that.
I like that as their floor.
I'd be shocked if that team is out.
I think ceiling is. I don't know about winning national championship, but definitely in the national championship. I think that could be the ceiling.
Siege, what do you think? You think they can win it all?
I do think they can win it all. The thing I like about this team is obviously they have Darren Peterson, but you don't know who's going to have a good night. Last night, Trey White had 23 points. Darren Peterson didn't have to do anything. He could chill back. They still beat Houston by 13 points.
Yep.
There's a lot of other aspects that go into the game other than just people putting up points. They played great defense against Houston last night. I think Houston shot 32% from the field. Their defense really goes under the radar. And Flory Badunga, he didn't play well last night, 4 points, I think. So if all those guys get clicking on the same night, it's very, very scary for teams.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's another reason why I mentioned it earlier. That's why I love Houston, and why I love a few of these teams that I'm going to mention in my Final Four when we do it. And we still have two conferences to talk about here after this. But teams that have 4 to 5 guys that can score the ball, score 10-plus points per game consistently. Houston's one of those teams. Kansas is one of those teams. And I think that's the kind of mold that now I think in this era, instead of the star players, I think it takes a full team to go win March. You saw that last year with Florida. Saw it with the team they played last year in Houston. They made it to the national championship. That's kind of the mold this year, I feel like. So those teams I think fitted the best. And a few other teams in this next conference, the Big Ten, that we're going to talk about, fit it almost just as well, if not better. This just gets me really excited for the end of the season, talking about these two conferences right here. The Big 12 and the Big 10 have been elite, absolutely elite the last few years of developing talent, team building. Coaches are just everything, keeping some of those traditions alive too. I think these are some of the strongest traditions that they have in college basketball at some of these conferences. But starting at the top here with one of my teams, the Michigan Wolverines, playing some good ball right now, and playing good ball throughout the season. Just lost their first conference game recently, but Illinois is trailing them at 13-4 in the conference. Your Michigan State Spartans at 12-4, Gavin Williams in third. And then some few surprises down here. Nebraska's down there at 12-4. Purdue, who's usually at the top, is now 12-4. Wisconsin's a sneaky team. UCLA's a sneaky team. After that, it kind of gets to those bubble teams of Iowa, Ohio State, Indiana, those kind of teams. And then after that, it's kind of a big fall off. But what do you guys think of the Big Ten as a whole? Who do you think is going to come out of this conference? And some of those bubble teams too. What do you think about an Ohio State or an Iowa maybe getting in the tournament here? And could those teams maybe get a run?
I like Michigan a lot. I feel like this loss to Duke doesn't really mean anything to them. They beat everybody. They played by 30 points. Duke is a very good team. They had opportunities to win that game, and I feel like it's just going to be a learning point for them in the future. They know the mistakes that they made. They know how to change it. Obviously, hopefully Elliot Cadeau is not going to shoot 1 for 7 from the floor again. So Michigan is a really good constructed roster, like we were saying before. They have a lot of matchups that I'm sure they like in March, and they have a very high ceiling, 9-0 away. That's very difficult to do. And then Illinois right behind them, another freshman, Keaton Wagler. I feel like a lot of people were not talking about him, had 45 points early in the season. He's a very good player. And then I do not like Purdue at all. Obviously, 22-5, they were number 1 coming into the season. I feel like they're very vulnerable for a loss, maybe in the first round. I know a lot of people said they were going to get upset last year against, who was it, High Point, I think, or something like that.
Yep.
They won that game, but I feel like if they get another difficult matchup this year, they can be gone. And then just touching on Gavin, I think this Michigan State team is actually really good. I saw them play in person once this year. They have a lot of difficult guys to match up with two big guys, Jackson Kohler. Obviously, a point guard in Jeremy Fears. He's been playing really well, averaging a double-double the last couple weeks. I feel like Michigan and Michigan State, it's going to go back to the old days, and they're going to gut it out again.
That'd be awesome.
That'd
be awesome, man.
I do agree. I think that it's going to come down to one of those two teams. I also see, I'm going to put 3 in there. So I'm going to have Michigan, Michigan State. And I'm also going to have Illinois in there as well for the third team. I think that can really, I think one of those 3 teams will come out as Big Ten champions. At the end of the day, I think there's a different little love. Well, obviously, being a state fan, I think there's just something that comes with that team where it's not about paying players. It's not about all this. It's about having like a true team and true work ethic where it's a team ball movement, not just a singular.
But the Big Ten so great.
I know, yeah. So I think at the end of the day, when it comes down to winning conference championships, you're going to think about depth. And I think Michigan State has a lot of depth.
I mean, they're really deep, yeah.
I think you have just random guys that wouldn't start on any of these teams, but you have key role players like Tang coming in for Michigan State, putting up like 3 threes almost religiously when he comes in. You got Cooper and Kohler, like you were just mentioning. You have Cohen Carr. You just have a lot of explosive guys. Jeremy Fears, I call him one of the biggest floor generals in college basketball because he really is a pass-first guy. He's not a shoot-first. He's a pass-first guy. I really like this team. I think Michigan State's going to find a way to get it done, especially with Tom Izzo and conference championships. I think he's going to find a way where I like Tom Izzo matched up against anybody else in March and specifically conference and in the tournament.
I mean, yeah, he usually finds a way. He's that type of coach. He usually finds a way. He's one of the best of all time for that reason. I like what you said about explosive, though. I think that's a good word to describe this whole conference.
Yeah.
And maybe explosive on both ends. I think this is the one conference where you see a Michigan, a Michigan State, Illinois. Not saying which one, because I really don't know, but I think one of those teams. I wouldn't be shocked if any of them win the national championship. I wouldn't be shocked if any of them get out in the first round. Honestly, that's what I mean by explosive. They can go all the way, or they could blow up in the first round.
That's
so
a good
it's
way
like,
to put it.
And I think all those 3 teams, I think they're all just so comparable. They're all so deep. They all have guys who can score. They'll play a similar-ish brand. Maybe Illinois shoots a little bit more than the other teams, but Michigan and Michigan State this year are super comparable. These 2 teams.
I agree.
And I like what you said about the depth. I think Michigan State is, if not one of the most deep team in the country with Coach Izzo. That's a scary combination for March. A scary combination if you're not a Michigan State fan. But I love this conference overall. I think that there's some sleeper teams in here, like Wisconsin. I think they're a sleeper team.
I think they're one of my favorite Cinderella teams in March, which we'll get into in a little bit.
UCLA team. Obviously, I don't love Mick Cronin. I don't love the comments that he made the last week, but I will say he does get his team fired up.
Yeah.
And in March, that's a big thing. I think having a fiery coach in March is a big deal. I think you saw that with FDU beating Purdue, who I think is going to be another team that is going to be out in the first few rounds. But I think back to Mick Cronin, I think that UCLA team could be a team that goes on a Sweet 16, Elite 8 run, upset a few teams, and maybe clear out some space for some of these other top teams to really, go this year. So I like the Big Ten, and I think it's top heavy, but I think overall I think it's a great conference.
Yeah.
So moving on now to, after we're done with those Power Four, let's move on to our conference, and the one that I think I know the most about personally, and one that I'm super excited for this conference tournament. I'm talking about the A-10. Got rid of UMass this year. I think it opened up the field a little bit. I think it feels less congested, even getting rid of one team. I think the schedule works out I don't know. I think it just feels a little bit more clearer, everything in the A-10, and I really like all the programs that are rolling right now. Obviously, our Bonnies are not one of them.
No, they're not.
Right now, we are the second last team in the conference, which I did not think before the season was going to happen.
No, absolutely not.
Looking at some of these other teams, the A-10 now, I'm shocked how I even thought this Bonnie's team could compete with some of these other teams. Not to say
that's a good way to put it.
Not to say that
though.
this Bonnie's team is bad. I really don't think so. I think maybe they lack depth. I think that's maybe the only thing. They've had a lot of injuries this year.
Yeah.
To get off my Bonnie spiel, but some of these other schools are just deep.
I think I just
They've been
underestimated the top of the conference.
And I
before the season-
underestimated some of these middle of the pack teams that I thought Bonnies would just be automatically better than.
Yeah.
Which because they have been the last few years, and now this year we just lost all those swing games that we've had. So obviously, at the start of the top of the conference, one of the biggest storylines of the college basketball season is the St. Louis Billikens. Robbie Avila, that whole team. Not even just him, but he's the face of that team. They have 6 guys in that team that can score the ball and win them a game, basically, too. We've seen that the last few games. They're 13-1 in the conference, 25-2 overall, and they just lost a game last week to Rhode Island. Jonah Hinton and Rhode Island, who are coming to the Riley Center tomorrow as we are recording this. So that'll be a good matchup there. Should be an interesting one in the RC tomorrow. But St. Louis sitting there at 13-1. Let me just ask generally, do you think any other team can knock them off in the conference tournament? And if so, which team is that? Because I don't think they're going to win the conference tournament, but I still think they get in the tournament, obviously. So this year, I think, for the first time in a while, deservedly, I think the A10 gets 2 and hopefully maybe 3 bids, but probably 2 bids. But who do you guys think?
I mean, I was watching the VCU St. Louis game the other night, and I think the thing that I saw from St. Louis that I wasn't necessarily expecting was, and at first going down. We haven't seen that this year with St. Louis. I mean, they've just been, once they're up, they stay up. They were down, but they fought back, and they ended up blowing VCU out. So then that really made me question, can anybody compete with them come conference tournament time? The answer to that question, I don't think anybody can. I think VCU is the only team that can compete with them. Maybe if you get a really good night from Dayton, I think that's kind of it, though. I mean, I don't think George Mason's the same team that we really think they are. I don't think Joe's or Duquesne or Davidson. I don't think any of these teams can really compete. I think it's just between VCU and St. Louis. I hope both these teams do get in, because that would be really cool if the A10 could have 2 teams represent in March.
I just want to say this really quick before you talk, CJ. I think the A10 should get 2 teams in, not just because they deserve it, and because I think 3 teams should get in based on the record alone. But that's besides the point. But they win games in March. I mean, Duquesne won 2 years ago, I'm pretty sure. VCU almost won last year, or did win a game last year, I'm pretty sure. So just they're a competitive conference every year in the tournament.
Every year.
And then Dayton obviously got screwed in the COVID year of being a 1 seed.
Yeah.
So it's like A10, I feel like, doesn't get enough respect at all from the committee. I think we get overlooked by the WCC and by
I think so.
some of these other
American
high mid-major conferences. But I think in general, I think the A10 does deserve more respect, and I think that two teams should be the minimum for that conference, and I think 3 isn't pushing it at all, personally.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. Just going back to the point of the first question that you had, like Gavin was saying, I feel like VCU is really the only team that's able to compete with St. Louis. I don't know if it's for a full 40 minutes, but to be able to hang in there for probably about 35 minutes of those games, it really comes down to the last 5 minutes. Like you said, VCU is leading the most of the game. In St. Louis, they just chipped away. They got some steals. They went on a couple runs, and it really just took VCU out of the game. But aside from St. Louis and VCU, if it's going to be St. Louis in that championship game, I feel like there's any other team in the field that could see them. I feel like this conference tournament's going to get really messy. We could see St. Bonaventure going to run. I'm not saying anything there, but
it depends on a lot of these matchups in the last few weeks too.
Rhode Island's been pretty decent as well. They were pretty good at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's up for grabs. I feel like these teams are going to fight it out in those 4 or 5 days in March. I will be in attendance, so it will be interesting to watch.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be some great basketball. I think there's going to be a lot of upsets in the A10 tournament. I like Rhode Island a lot. I like them to go on a run. I like G-Dub to go on a run, too. I think them sitting down there is not a good matchup, especially for a team like a Davidson, who's usually smaller, against the best player arguably in the conference, Rafael Castro. That's always got to be something. In March, I always preach you got to have the best team to win the whole thing. But to win a conference tournament, you just need one player, I think, to go on a run for a few games. And I think maybe not in the A10, that's the best formula for it. But I think if Castro's hot and that team gets rolling, I wouldn't be shocked if a G-Dub goes to the Final Four of the A10 tournament and maybe sneaks into the championship. But I don't think they would win in that case. But nonetheless, I agree with your guys' points. I think St. Louis will. I guess they will ultimately win it. Probably, most likely. I would give it probably a 50% chance for them to win it rather than if you're taking St. Louis first the field, I'm probably taking St. Louis. But I think you guys are underrating George Mason, honestly. I think this team's been hurt the whole year. And they're still 21-6 overall. So that's nothing to slouch about. And I think this team is legit. I think they should be in the tournament. I hate to be that guy, but I think they should be in the tournament. They should have been in last year. I totally agree with that. They were the 1 seed last year in the A10. Didn't win the tournament. VCU beat them. And VCU ended up getting in. George Mason missed it on the bubble there. But I think George Mason 2 years in a row, being where they're at, I think getting snubbed 2 years in a row without a conference tournament would just be a disgrace for the conference, I think, in general, but definitely for that program. So I think Braden O'Connor in that Patriots team is going to have to battle back and be healthy, first of all. But also I think they could go on a run if they get some right matchups in the A10 tournament. So I like George Mason there, but overall I agree with you guys. I think St. Louis, VCU, especially St. Louis, is the top dogs in the A10 right now. Let's move on. If you guys don't have anything
we
about any other conferences that you want to talk about, you want to talk about some NEC. If you want to talk about, Long Island's been playing pretty good.
They have been. I mean, how are
the Dolphins doing? How are the Fins doing?
Pretty average, actually. A lot better year than I thought they would have. In third place right now, they've had opportunities.
That's incredible, honestly.
Yeah, it is.
Going D1 2 years ago. When you were on the team.
And Mercyhurst right behind him in fourth place. That's huge, too.
Another new team
as well,
in D1. So,
but it really just shows that, I mean, any team can compete with any team. It doesn't matter who you are, especially in smaller conferences like that. LIU is probably going to get the bid, but Central Connecticut's always right there with them.
It'd be awesome if Lemoyne can get in, though.
They cannot. They can't. They still have to wait for it. But it would be interesting to see them upset someone in the championship game.
Is this the last year, though?
Yep.
Of that? Okay.
Yep.
Well, maybe next year Lemoyne could really get going.
Maybe they take their full swing at it.
Could be the stepping stone right there. But I like LIU. I don't know if you've seen them or not, but on TikTok they have a very good student section.
They do, actually.
Fins up, yeah.
Fins up.
I love that. I love that student section. That's how you build culture, man. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
So I love that they're doing that. And LIU, I will be rooting for LIU Sharks if they get into the tournament. That will be my 15th seed.
Right,
for the season. But overall, looking at the top here, we got Duke, Arizona, Michigan, Iowa State, Houston as the top 5 ranked.
Yep.
Getting off of the top teams, do you think that there's any Cinderellas that we haven't talked about yet, or any team that you think could go on a run that you want to talk about? Gavin, you're smiling here.
I'm gonna bring out probably my deepest poll of the whole episode, right here. I think this will be the Cinderella team that we look back and they only won one round in the. They're only going to win the first round of this year's March tournament. But after this, they're like, do you guys remember UNC Wilmington? I think UNC Wilmington's going to get it done this year. And
why? Can I ask why?
I just like the way that they're playing ball. I saw them beat Charleston.
Are they going to make the tournament?
Yeah, they're first in their conference right now.
I like the Warhawks, man. I like them.
And this is the thing. I mean, everybody's like, oh, Charleston, they always win this conference every single year. UNC Wilmington is 13-2 in the conference, 24-4 overall. Like, they're ready to roll this year.
I like their colors, man. I like the teal. I like the blue. I like the yellow, man. I like that. I like them.
Yeah, give me UNC Wilmington.
What a pull, first of all. Incredible you just pulled that out. Let me see if I can find one that I like. I mean, obviously the big popular pick is St. Louis, Miami, Ohio.
I like Wisconsin a lot.
Wisconsin's in
Wisconsin's
there.
beat
CJ,
both
do you think of Miami, Ohio could go on a run? I mean, they're 27-0. Haven't played the best schedule, and everybody's kind of pointing that out. But first of all, do you think even if they lose a game, do you think they get in, or what do you think it would take for them not to get in the tournament? And then for them, when they get in there, what do you think happens?
Personally, I don't think they're going to lose the rest of the season. I think they win their tournament outright. Akron is pretty good, so Akron might be able to compete with them a little bit in the championship game, whether that be against Akron or someone else. But like you said, they haven't played the best competition, so I feel like it's going to be very interesting to see who they're matched up with. I'm not really sure what seed they would be. Any
I'm not sure what's yet. I think they'd probably be like a
13, 14?
they'd probably be a 13. I mean, just because of the MAC
Yeah.
competition level, I think the 13 is probably a safe play there.
So right now they're projected an 11 seed, so
All right.
I don't see them getting past the first weekend, honestly. It would be great to see them go undefeated and then head into the tournament, win a couple games. That would be great. But going back to the Cinderella story, I don't know if it's much of a Cinderella story, but a team that I'm pretty high on and would love to see win a couple games or a game is Merrimack. Second year in the MAC, just won the MAC conference outright. I feel like they can win the tournament as well. Great coach in Joe Gallo. He will probably be moving on from Merrimack after this season, having the success that he had in the last couple of years and probably taking a couple guys with him. They have great roster construction. They play that tenacious 2-3 zone, and I feel like you said, the FDU team a couple years ago, they might be able to upset someone like this.
It's funny that you mentioned Merrimack, because I was gonna mention Siena. We saw them, and I'm not saying for I'm saying to get in the tournament.
Okay,
maybe as a
yeah.
Cinderella, but we saw them earlier in the year, and they're a pretty decent squad, man. I mean, they got some Gavin Doty.
Yeah,
He's one of
he
those
was tough.
guys, and he could be a guy that carries them through that tournament. I think Siena, Merrimack in the MAC conference
MAC.
tournament championship game would be incredible.
Yeah.
And I think that Siena, if they maybe get in the tournament, they could be a team. They match up. They're a big team, and they match up well with some of these bigger teams. Depends on the matchup, obviously. But I think Siena could be one of those teams. And then the main team that I wanted to bring up, and let me find them here, was the Naval Academy.
Dude, I was going to bring them
Naval
up
Academy.
too. I mean, in the Patriot League, they've been dominating.
The Naval
this year.
Academy has not made the tournament since 97-98 when they were in the Patriot League. And I'm not sure.
They still are in the Patriot League.
No, I know, but I'm not sure if the Patriot League was D1 at that point.
Oh, at 79?
I think they were. In 97.
Oh, nice.
I think 97. I think they were, but unconfirmed.
Okay.
But I like the Naval Academy to sneak in this
I
thing,
like
man.
it.
I would
like
love that, and I would be an easy team to root for.
Oh,
maybe,
yeah.
you know,
Come on now.
Being the what are they? Sorry, the midshipmen out there. I'll be rooting for the Naval Academy in the Patriot League for the rest of the season to knock off Colgate.
We see Colgate every single year. I think that was the craziest thing when I saw Bonaventure schedule them this year. I'm like, well, this is a tournament team every year. And then one year I say that we're definitely playing a tournament team. Now you got the Naval Academy. I mean, I'd love to see that though. Change some direction in some of these smaller conferences.
And let me just say, I think whatever team comes out of the Southland Conference, whether it be Stephen F. Austin,
McNeese is looking good again this
They
year.
are,
too.
yeah.
UTRGV, which is Rio Grande, and then New Orleans, even down to them, or Corpus Christi. I think one of those teams, if they get into the tournament, could be a little bit of a fun and frisky team. I feel like, because the Southland on Monday nights when we get back from our NIL class, the Southland plays on Monday nights their conference games, and I was watching them last night, a lot of those games, and I've been watching the last few Mondays. I've gotten into the Southland Conference a little bit, man. So I kind of know some of these teams. I know ball in the Southland Conference. So I think Rio Grande has been good. I think McNeese, they've been balling. They've won 6 in a row. But I think New Orleans, I think Uno could be that team. They started off hot. They had a big win early in the year that everybody kind of remembers them from. And I think they could be a team that, they kind of got swept under the rug, and I think they're coming out of the other side of the rug now. I think that's it.
Okay, yeah, other
I think
side of
that's
the
it.
rug.
I think they got swept through the rug.
Through the rug.
You know what I mean?
Throughout the
Underneath
whole
and through the rug.
rug. Okay.
But I think overall, let's talk about our Final Four now. Wrap it up a little bit. Who do you guys think is going to be in the Final Four? Maybe not your 1 seeds. That could be a little bit easy to predict. Now it could be just the 4 teams we saw on Saturday play against each other.
Yeah, right.
But who's going to be in the Final Four? Do you guys think, and who is going to be your national champion?
Yeah, I can kick us off. Not in any order. I think the matches will be. I got Michigan, Houston, and then I got Michigan State, Kansas. That's what I got for my Final Four.
You want to leave your champion for the end, or you want to say it now?
I mean, I think it's kind of obvious who I'll choose. Roll Sparty, go green. Michigan State, let's go, baby.
All right, Siege, who do you
I
got?
like that list a lot. Gonna go in a similar order. I'm gonna go with Duke. Duke probably gonna be the #1 overall seed in the tournament. I like Michigan State. I like Michigan State a lot. Kansas, obviously. Kansas is my team. And then one team we have failed to mention today that has not gone under the radar, but they've been a little up and down is Gonzaga. 27-2. It's been very scary because they've been hanging in a lot of games with a lot of WCC teams, with Pacific, with San Diego. They lost to Portland.
It's just like
weird.
That.
I don't know what it is
They're
about
such a
the
weird-
WCC conference, but at the beginning of the season, once I saw all the transfers that they had coming in, Tyon Grant Foster, Jalen Worley, their freshman point guard Mario Saint Supri.
Yeah. I mean,
This is a very deep team too. I know we haven't seen Gonzaga go to the Final Four. It's always Sweet 16. I mean, we saw them a couple years ago, 2022, something like that.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a year for them to go on another run. They are deep. They've had some injuries right now, but once they get out of that gauntlet of the WCC and they see some real high major teams, obviously they lost to Michigan by 40, but I feel like they'll be able to compete.
no, I like that a lot. I mean, they're such an up and down team though. I can't trust them. So it's
I
like,
agree.
it's funny because it's like Gonzaga every year. You're like, oh, this is the year they're going to finally get over the hump. And I feel like this is the one year that nobody's talking about them, and they might actually do it. They might actually
That's a great point.
I love that, CJ. So that's a great point there.
And then just one more thing, just coming
yeah.
out of the WCC, Santa Clara and St. Mary's are both very good
I love
teams.
Santa
Yeah,
Clara a
I mean,
lot.
I'm
That-
looking at these
if
records
we,
right
if
now.
we're picking if we were picking all the conferences today, I think Santa Clara would have been my pick.
Yeah.
Just because they've been way more consistent. I mean, maybe not they're not as good of a team as Gonzaga is, but I think they've been more consistent the whole year than Gonzaga's been.
Mhm.
And St. Mary's is always so fun to watch every year.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Every year they somehow make it into the
Yeah.
tournament.
Yeah.
And
I love
fun
it.
to watch.
I think the WCC is, it's got that, it's seen in a better light. It's the same thing as the A10, I think, but it's just seen in a better light.
Exactly.
Seen in a more positive way. I don't know why that is. Maybe because you're watching them and they're by themselves at night. I don't know.
Maybe because they got the
maybe I'm
10
grasping
p.m.
for
Eastern
straws here.
Standard Time.
I
or
don't
something.
know. Maybe you get caught up. You're not watching the George Mason game because it's 7 o'clock whenever their game is. Whatever. But I think my Final Four, Houston. I got to throw them in there. That was one of the teams. I got to throw Michigan in there. I have to throw Duke in there. I don't think you can dispute them with the eventual Wooden Player of the Year, Cameron Boozer, on their team. I don't think you can really dispute that. And then I'm caught between these last two because it's two programs that build the same. They kind of play the same. I'm talking about Arizona and Illinois. Those are the two other teams that I would throw in there. If I had to pick, though, I'm going to throw Illinois just for the sake of throwing another team in there. I think that they're one of those teams that has a lot of guys. Obviously, Wagner's one of them, but he's just one of them. They have a ton of guys who can go out and score the ball.
They're pretty deep as
I think
well.
Arizona's a team they're that one team this year that in my mind that's the most swing team. It's like, I wouldn't be shocked if they're the Purdue that loses to FPU. I wouldn't be shocked if they're that Virginia team after after losing to UMBC that goes on and wins the championship type of year.
That's actually kind of crazy. I think that's really good. That's a really good analogy.
I see Arizona being that team. I see them going back and forth. They have some great talent, but some talent that I think could be stopped easily, I think, in the tournament if they get the right matchup.
But if they get hot,
but if
it's
they
like
get
that
hot, they
Virginia
get hot.
team the one year.
They get hot, they get hot. Del Orso can go off at any game, but I could also see that guy having a dud of a game in the tournament too. So my champion, if I had to pick CJ, who'd your champion be? I don't even think you.
I'll take Kansas.
All right, Kansas.
Plus 2,500 right now.
All right. I'm going to take the guys who've lost 3 in a row for the first time in about a decade. I'm going to take Houston.
I like that pick, though.
I'm buying low on them.
I feel like they're going to be very hungry.
I think they need it. Like, for their culture, for their everything, they need it.
I think Kelvin Sampson, it's what he's been working for.
Yeah,
obviously.
I mean, yeah.
So it's just like, I feel like this is
years
a
in
good
the
team.
making.
You got, let me just go through them. You got Senek, you got Sharp, you got Fleming, Tugler, Usman. Who's the Mercy Miller? That was the guy that I loved, Mercy Miller. I just like his name.
Studs, man.
And he can shoot some threes. I like this team a lot. This is going to be a good end of the basketball season with the conference tournaments.
Absolutely.
In the tournament itself. Overall thoughts? Any closing thoughts on the tournament, guys?
Just be ready to watch some conference tournaments next week.
All right.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I think that spring break came at the right time.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that'll be fun to watch over the next few weeks. Before we go, I know we kind of mentioned it, but any team that you think will shockingly win their conference tournament? Just a fun little pick. Just a fun little quick pick just to throw it out there.
I think that it would be pretty sweet to see like, I mean, I don't want this to happen because this would have to result in one of my teams losing. But you know what? I want to see Wisconsin run. I mean, I think Wisconsin, they've beaten Michigan State, they've beaten Michigan, they've beaten some crazy teams this year. Can they put it together and see and win one of the toughest conferences in basketball? I think they might have a chance. That would be my fun pick.
I like that. CJ, who do you got?
You got to go first.
I'm going to go with the team that Bonnie's played earlier this year. I'm going to go with Robert Morris
Ooh.
slash Youngstown State. One of those teams in the Horizon League. I think, and I'm going to throw Green Bay in there too with Doug Gottlieb. I think some of those teams could be a little fun for them to get in the tournament. But Wright State does look to be that team in that conference that's going to go all the way. But if one of those teams upset Wright State, I think that could be a fun little pick in the tournament too.
Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of the same aspect that you're coming from. A team that played before Bonaventure's first game of the season is Winthrop. High Point usually wins that conference every year. They're usually the favorite. Winthrop's a very good team, not far behind them at 12-2 in the conference. I feel like they can upset them in the championship game as well.
All right, love it, guys.
I like that.
Great episode today. Thanks for sticking with us as always. If you're not following us on our Instagram,
It's at Out of Bounds Podcast with a dot between every single word.
CJ, you got anything you want to shout out right now?
Thank you guys for having me.
Oh yeah,
Have
thank
a
you, man.
Great
Absolutely.
March Madness.
Yeah, thank
Can't
you,
wait.
CJ. Appreciate you, man. We'll have you on again.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
Gavin, you got any thoughts?
Just pumped.
Yeah,
Bring it
same.
on.
Same. All right, happy March, guys, and have a day.
Have a day.